Meantime, we've got significant developments from Minnesota this morning in the still undecided U.S. Senate race. As it stands today, Democratic challenger Al Franken trails GOP incumbent Norm Coleman by just 206 votes. 206, triggering an automatic hand recount to begin next week. Now, that 206 number is down from 725 just last week. Election officials say typos and clerk errors are to blame for the difference, but some folks are worried that voter fraud may be at play here. Just this past weekend, dozens of uncounted absentee ballots were reportedly found in the trunk of one official's car, and they have now been added to this tally. They've been counted. Joining us now with more is Minnesota Governor Pawlenty. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Kelly. Good to be with you.
It's good to have you. I look at the examples of what's gone on here, and the one that jumped out to me, not only the car, but you've got an exhausted elections clerk who accidentally claims to have underwritten Franken's vote by 100. Franken gets 100 votes because someone said he was too tired, and then he changed his number.
Yeah, I think any discussion today, first of all, should start with a thank you to our veterans. Of course, they've given their all to secure our freedoms and liberties and privileges. One of those is voting, so a thank you to our veterans on this Veterans Day. As to the process, of course, that you're describing, Minnesota has a great reputation for high voter turnout and electoral integrity, but there are some strange things that have occurred, or at least concerning things, that need to be looked at. The one that you mentioned about the ballots in the trunk of a car would be a leading example. There have been other examples of, even though this is a 50-50 race, these changes seem to disproportionately, overwhelmingly favor Al Franken, the Democratic candidate, so that's cause for concern. Seems to be out of proportion with the general voter trend. So those things are going to have to be looked at.
They sure do. Just looking at the numbers, it looks reportedly the gains for Al Franken in these counties versus the gains for Norm Coleman. Franken got 2.5 times the gain that Barack Obama did on the ballot when they recounted it. He got 2.9 times the gain that Democrats got in the congressional races, and he got 5 times what the Democrats got in the state house races. In other words, when they've been doing these recounts, he's benefiting disproportionately compared to the other Democrats on the ballots.
Yeah, that raises the concern. And, of course, the race overall, like we said, is 50-50. But even if you're in an overwhelmingly Democratic area of the state, you might think the breakdown would be more like 60-40 or 70-30 in favor of the Democrat, not 90 or 100% favoring a Democratic candidate, Al Franken. So those kinds of statistical aberrations raise some concerns, and that's why people are scrambling to make sure we have the process transparent, secure, and reliable, and the acceptance of the results are going to depend on the fairness of the process, obviously.
And what of these ballots that were found in the guy's car, how do those get counted?
Well, as I understand it, and this is based on news accounts, he claims that even though they were in his car, that they were never outside of his security or, area of control, and so the courts allowed that. It seems a little loose to me,
but that's a
concern. Well, there's not been a good explanation for that, Kelly. That's a very good question, but they've been included into the account pile, which is concerning.
Yeah, I can see why. Let me ask you before I let you go. A judge in Stearns County has ordered a procedure for protecting the ballots there, saying the ballots should remain under lock and key in a room that can only be entered by 2 or more members of an auditor's staff, and you got to keep a detailed log of who goes in and who goes out. Franken's people are objecting to that?
Well, that's a great model. We want to have a uniform standard for ballot security. That court and that county did a good job in articulating what that means and defining what that means. I think urging the rest of the counties, like I did yesterday, and others have to adopt those kinds of procedures would be wise. The two campaigns are trying to agree on that, but they haven't yet. Norm Coleman's campaign has been urging that. So far, the Franken campaign has not agreed as far as I know.
Wow. Well, the hand recount doesn't even begin until November 18th, I think it is. So we could be into December. We could be into the next Congress before we know what the ultimate Senate total is. In any event, Governor Tim Pawlenty, you guys got your hands full in Minnesota. Good luck with it.
It's always interesting. Thanks, Kelly.
All the best.
I got a few things in my trunk, too, but overseas now, developing story out of Syria, the AP reporting